history and some interesting facts. So go ahead, Jeanette.
Perfect, thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I've always been told that I have an indoor voice, so you should be able to hear me all the way in the back without any problems, even without the microphone. I'm going to start real briefly with a video. So how many of you saw me at the Akron Newstead Senior Center? Okay, it's not the same presentation. How many of you saw me at Pembroke when we had tons of technical issues? Okay, good, because I wasn't even going to bring that up because it was so bad. But we did. Pat asked me to come early, and I said after that debacle, yes, I want to make sure my videos work. We actually figured something out for future reference. We just stumbled upon it, and I want to share with you our 100-year video. So on May 31st of this year, our family celebrated 100 years. That is when my great-grandfather bought the land in East Amherst for $2,000. 18 acres in East Amherst for $2,000. Yes, you can't buy that today. But anyways, so outside of our employees, you are the only other people to see this video. We haven't launched it live. Hold on. Okay, so maybe I do have a couple technology issues. Well, I know what it is though. I got to get it out of this format. There we go. Technology's great when it works and not so great when it doesn't. So the first time I saw that was at our 100th celebration. Our director of marketing didn't want to show any of the owners or the leadership team. So it was fantastic to watch it for the first time along with everyone else. And it was very meaningful when all of our employees said, "Oh my God, look at that's me, they took pictures of me. Look at, I'm on the," so it was really one of those special moments, especially for me. I am the 4th generation. I am the people side of the business, so I work in human resources. I am very passionate about community outreach, our teams, developing our teams, and just trying to facilitate everything that we have learned over 100 years into the next generation who are working for us. And I just want to recognize my dad, who's retired.
End of June, 7 years retired. And the next generation doing a fine job.
So when I
started when I was 5.5.
And I didn't start too far behind him. I looked at my Social Security records. Because he also believed in paying us, which a lot of farm kids didn't get paid at that time because we were doing as much work as everybody else. So my dad is part of the 3rd generation that retired. So out of the 7 3rd generation, there are 4 that are currently retired, 3 left in the business, and there's 5 of us, but I'll talk more about that. So we grow for tomorrow. We are going to continue to grow because in order to be sustainable, you have to be of essence and you have to have a sustainable footprint. So then and now. So this is kind of like a history and review, 100 years. There are so many stories. I wanted to stop that video so many times because there's just great things in there. But we're going to have to cut this short because I don't want to keep you here all night. Then and now. So I told you that on March 31st, my great-grandparents bought this farm in the middle of a depression. I'm going to let that sink in. In the middle of a depression, he decided, I'm going to become a farmer. I'm going to go to East Amherst. I have a great machinist job in the city. And I'm going to pay $2,000 and I'm going to buy this farm and I'm going to be a sustainable farm and I'm going to make it work. Well, thank God he did because he made it work. And so did the 2nd generation, 3rd generation, and 4th generation. I am the oldest of my generation and the youngest is graduating high school this year. So
there's 21 or 22 of them.
There's 22 of us. So the top picture is our Clarence facility. It's on the border of Newstead and Clarence. Most of you are probably familiar with that. The second one down is our Sunrise Farm. It's our organic and cage-free facility over in Basem off of 77. That's just a layer side. We don't have the pullet side up there. And then the bottom one is Wayne County. So let me tell you what happened. So we started in 1924. In the 50s and 60s, when the 2nd generation started getting married, they couldn't really live on the farmstead, and they needed to kind of expand, and we needed to figure out what we're doing. The influx from the city was coming in, so they went to Town Line Road in Newstead, Clarence, and they bought the house at the corner, and then they started continuing to grow. We decided to not be a hatchery anymore. We decided to have a laying facility with laying hens. And then we moved down to here. So we started with 20-some chickens. Then it went to 54 by the time my great-grandfather left machining in 1930. And then we went to 15,000. And then we went to 48,000. So we have the first 2 buildings on the closest to the road. Those are the original 2 footprints. And now we have 5 buildings here. We grow our own feed, and we have a processing plant on there, plus we have our compost, because what do you do with all that chicken poop? You make it into a usable product, because then it's another market. So then we should have had these in different orders. The bottom one is Wayne County. So in 2007, Wegmans Egg Farm came to us and said, we're getting out of the business, we're selling our farm, we are only handpicking who we want, who have the same values as us, because it's very important for that continuity. How many of you have been to Wayne County? Okay, a couple of you. Okay, so again, it's a very rural area. We wanted to make sure we did right by the employees. So an hour after we signed the paperwork, it went into effect at midnight. My uncle died an hour after that. So it was his living dream to be part of that. And then my grandfather was around for 8 more months. And he saw us continue to take over. So again, a dying dream to become more sustainable. So we have the Wegmans Egg Farm, which is about 2 hours from here. And Wegmans came to us and said, customer demand is organic and cage-free. Build it and they will come. So you need to build it and we will come. So if you don't build it, we're going to have to find another egg supplier. So it was pretty intense.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. So when we bought the Wegmans Egg Farm, we doubled in size, and we got all of their Wegmans grocery store business. So when they say you need to, you do. So we built the Sunrise Farm, which is our organic and cage-free farm. So our past, 18 acres, 10 pigs, 5 cows, started out with a few chickens. My great-grandfather fell in love with chickens, continued to have them. So they're looking at the breeds, and we became a breeder, and we became known for a Kreher strain of chickens. So they were specifically bred to make eggs. So there's 2 kinds of chickens. There's a meat chicken that doesn't start laying eggs, and that's what you have for dinner, like a piece of chicken on a breast or on a sandwich. And then you have the egg layers. The egg layers are the lean ones who produce eggs very efficiently. The top right-hand corner is my uncle in the 30s, 40s, 50s. He, I don't know how old he is in that picture. The top hat kind of does a little number on the aging. He is doing the breeding, so he's looking at the eggs and finding out which ones he needs to pull. The lower one is when we started our pullet facility. So in 1990s, we had built 2 pullet houses, and this is my second generation, my grandfather and my uncle in the house, looking at the chicks. So before that, we had a lot of contract farms, so we would go an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to all these different small farms who were growing out our chickens, because we were a laying farm by then, and we did not have pullets that we were raising. This is our current generation, so this is 3rd and 4th generation. As you can see, I'm in the pink, obviously. My cousin Nate is the newest member, and he is one of the younger ones. Actually, he's right in the middle, but he's so we got a long way to go. And then a lot of my cousins have kids who are anywhere from just turning 1 to 8th grade. So our family business is made up of 3 components: shell eggs, crop farming, and fertilizer and compost. So we produce all kinds of eggs because the consumer kind of drives the demand and what they want. So we have cage-free or conventional, we have organic, we have nutritionally enhanced, which are the Eggland's Best. We have free range and pasture raised. So whatever you want, we have. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. We have 5,000 acres or a little bit more of farmland that we work, and we are the largest organic crop farm in New York State. We have fertilizer and compost because, again, like, what do you do with all that poop? You got to make a usable product. So our compost and fertilizer helps all the farms and golf courses and everyone in this area, but it also goes up and down the eastern seaboard. It's gone as far as Italy. So it's taken a long boat ride over to Italy and to Canada because it is such a really great nutrient for the soil. So just in case you didn't know where all the farms were, here are our farms. So we have the 3 egg farms are in red. We have Brockport, which is a crop farm. And then we have the Finger Lakes flocks. Those are our pasture-raised farmers who are raising all of those eggs out on range, because there is a high variant of possible infection from bird flu and other things, so we can't have them come into our processing plant. So, and there's a stamp out period or stamp out footprint of about 15 miles, unless you're like us and you have crossing to all different farms. So really important to keep those lines of separation. And then we also have the contract flocks down in Pennsylvania.
The 15-mile thing is for
HPAI, high path avian influenza.
Gotcha. Yep.
But there's other diseases that we vaccinate for, because just like little kids, you know, little kids get vaccinated because you got to try and keep them safe, and that helps to have the variant go down and have their body fight it. So here's our clearance facility. The big red barn is our office. We started out with we're never going to fit into the first part, and now we've built on 2 other times. We have we started with my great-grandparents running the business, and then the 2nd generation came on, then the 3rd generation came on, and a handful of employees. We have 400 employees now on our 5 farms. So we have full-time, part-time, seasonal. We also bring in H-2A workers legally through the H-2A visa program. They come from Mexico and South Africa to help with that influx, because some of the barns are really big, and then we need people to hand weed. We can't find that in the local market, so we have to use that program. This is just a couple pictures from Clarence. So in Clarence we have our conventional farm, we have white chickens. I don't really like this picture. So she's like in that pullet stage. So remember, if anybody had kids, you would send them to school, their hair all done nice and the nice clothes. Then they would have gym, then they would have lunch, and then they would get their pictures taken. You'd get the pictures and you'd go, whose kid is this? This isn't how I sent my kid to school. So it's that ugly chicken stage is what I call it. It's a teenager, yes. She's losing all of her down feathers, her really cuteness, and then she is starting to become a layer. So just one of our employees up in the top corner, he's doing food service, and then some of our crop equipment. This is our Sunrise Farm, so they are brown chickens. So does anybody know what the difference between a white egg and a brown egg is?
Color?
Color. Is there anything else? No, you're right. You guys all get 100. Yes, they are the exact same egg if they are fed the exact same diet and they are housed the same way. Housing and feed changes what they come out on the market as. So if they are fed a nutritionally enhanced diet, they will become a nutritionally enhanced egg, because we're adding supplements to their diet, just like some people take supplements, and that changes the outcome of the egg. Those that are in a cage facility are conventional. Those that are in a cage-free are cage-free. Those that are in organic are organically fed from day 1 and have to be in a cage-free facility. And then there's more rules with pasture-raised and with
So which ones come out brown?
the ones with brown earlobes. I'm serious. Brown earlobes and brown feathers. So just like if you look around, there's a bunch of different, colors in our community. That's the same thing. It's just a pigment of the skin, the pigment of the egg. Wayne County, here is our, they do conventional cropping up there because of where they are. It's just really hard to make it organic. But this is that facility. That facility is a little bit larger than the Clarence and Sunrise operations put together. We are actually building out there because they have more land to work with, and it is a a lot of this is for our customer who is continuing to grow down the eastern seaboard. Safety and security. Your eggs that come from someone like us, from a person who does this as a living, are the safest eggs you can eat. We go through about, 12, 14 different audits a year. Actually, one of our senior director of food safety has been in meetings all week. She has had 6 audits per site, so 6 times 3 audits this week, just in eggs. But our land is also certified. We also have humane services coming in to make sure that our chickens are cared for. So there are tons and tons of audits. But we have to follow the egg rule as well. We have guidelines under FDA, USDA, New York State. So there's tons of rules and regulations. We have about 4 people who do nothing but the regulations. So this is my cousin. We adhere to the strictest welfare standards. So a happy, healthy animal will give you the highest yield. If the animal is not happy and healthy, they're not going to. A farmer is not going to treat with antibiotics. It doesn't matter what animal. They're not going to treat with antibiotics because that is a cost. We do not make a lot of money, so we have to cut costs. And one of them is not giving a not sick animal antibiotics.
Yeah, good.
Because how many of you take antibiotics when you're not sick? Oh, okay, good. Okay, I was going to say we might have to have a conversation later because do not take antibiotics unless you're sick. But here are some of our certifications on the bottom. Humane Certified, United Egg Producers. All of our employees have to have some training before they can even go into those areas. So if you're going to be by the chickens, you have to have United Egg Producer certification for animal handling. If you're going to be around the eggs, you have to have SQF and foodborne illness, food defense. So there's a lot of regulation on that. We produce about 10 million eggs per week on our 3 farms. We produce, many of you don't even know that you're eating our eggs unless you know that you're eating our eggs, because we produce mainly under Tops and Wegmans. We are the local franchise for Eggland's Best. We started that in 1992. We were one of the first ones to go into that franchise, and we're very glad we did because we have helped a lot of people continue to eat eggs when their doctors and their cardiologists said no more eggs because they have the nutrients that your body does need. An egg has everything you need except for vitamin C. So eat your eggs and have a glass of orange juice. You'll be good for the day. We also pack under Land O'Lakes Born Free. We are regulated by SQF, USDA, like I mentioned, and then USDA Organic for our organic chickens. So we work together with other farmers. So this is one of the groups of farmers that we work with. So there's small family, predominantly Amish farmers down in the Finger Lakes. We do have a couple that are not. And they are doing a lot of our pasture raised and range chickens for that kind of eggs. Those are processed down in Pennsylvania for the line of separation. We grow locally, so like I mentioned before, we have 5,000 acres of land that we grow predominantly for feed for our chickens, but we also have small grains that are right around where the fireworks are going to be. So I'm going to give a public service announcement. Grains are very highly flammable. We've already alerted the celebration committee. We've already alerted the fire department. We have a plan to have a tractor and plow there in case they do catch on fire. But please, please, please don't do fireworks by our fields because it's going to be a timing issue. We're really hoping that we have a block and they're ready to go right before the 4th of July celebration. They probably won't be.
Or it rains.
Or that it rains, yes. That'll help. It won't help. It won't help us in the long run if it rains, if we get too much water because we've got to wait for them to dry down. But it'll be better for our community. So again, we just try to, give those public service announcements every once in a while. Also, it is planting season, so please be mindful of all of our equipment. We can't stop as fast as a car, and we can't see you if you're trying to dive bomb us they can't stop. You'll be under the machine and it won't be good. So please just take that extra couple minutes. Nothing is worth dying for. Sustainability, that has become a huge topic. There's a lot of organizations Chris probably can attest to, all the governance, environmental, all that sustainability talk and pledges from all companies. So we use our own fertilizer to enrich our land, and then we use these boxes. These are biofilters. We came across that, and we've been working with Cornell to help other farms with this. So it's taking the dust, feathers, and odor out of the air and going through the biofilters, which is a cargo box with wood chips. They're wet to absorb everything, and it lowers the odor. So we have them at all of our facilities, and it really has made a difference. So again, we're just always trying to be that good neighbor and always trying to help the environment because it's very important. So I did have a couple handouts up here. There was 3 QR codes. The one on sustainability with this picture is actually one of my favorite videos. It's about 3 minutes long. I have business cards up here. If you want it, I can email it to you. It's an hour-long presentation broken up into about 2 to 4 minutes. It's a great program to learn more about eggs. But we're using 30% less water today than we were in the 60s. That's just one of the many things that we have found. So again, we're trying to be the better stewards to the land. So this was a 3 years ago venture of ours. So we partnered with the W.D. Henry family. So they are in their 4th and 5th generation of planting and growing flowers and vegetables. They will not be able to sustain the succession transfer. So what does that mean? So a farm who's been around for 130 years will no longer be here if we don't take them, if they don't become part of the prayers. So we are working right now to try and make that happen. Unfortunately, the fourth generation is in their 70s, and the 5th generation is a young father in his 30s, and he does not have the capital to buy out the family. So it's really important to save family farms, and we can do this, so we're doing it because it helps to help with our cyclical bottom line with the ebbs and flows of agriculture. Anybody who's in agriculture knows that. You go for a couple of years and you have good years, and then you go for a long time and you say, do we need to close our doors? And you're like, nope, I'm a farmer, I'm going to pull together and I'm going to keep on going. Because we're resilient. We're also kind of stupid sometimes, but sometimes it's like, no, we're going to get through this. But again, it's being that steward and being that good neighbor that has continued to get us through.
And we're working with the younger generation to help him and buy out his family, estate and, buildings and, whatever it is, to
Yes.
keep it going.
So, and while we're right here, I should also mention there was 2 other farms that we bought that the next generation were not interested in, we're not going to continue. So what we did to honor those 2 farmers, both of them were 3rd generation farms. We put a plaque in a metal, cast iron plaque in their yard. So it's our property, but it talks about the families that farm that land for 3 generations, because that was important to us. It was a task of my dad and mine, because that was, to us, that legacy and that remembrance is very important. And then before we ended up taking down a barn, my dad and I went and salvaged all the barn wood that we could, that was good. And then we had our carpenter, who's amazing, construct a wood piece, wood art divider inside the office. And then I also used that when I got married. So again, very just a warm feeling. Our future, look at how little they are. Yeah, we got a little bit of growing to do and a little bit of transfer of knowledge. but we hope to be here for the future. So with that, I thank you very much. I'll take any questions, and if there's not a lot of questions but people are interested, I do have some really cool videos that I could show, so I can. So that's a great question. The life of a chicken. We have a chicken for about 90 weeks. So we get her at a day old. So I'm not sure if you saw the crate in the movie. There was crate boxes. We get 100 per crate on a big tractor trailer from Virginia, and they come up at a day old. And then we have them in a pullet farm, a pullet site, until they're about 16 to 18 weeks old, because that's when she starts laying eggs. So she has to be in the layer facility, because her eggs will not be gathered unless they're in the layer facility. And then we keep them till about 90 weeks. And then they become further chicken products, so chicken nuggets, soups, stews, broth. Because remember, our chickens are very lean, mean egg producing machines. They don't have a lot of meat on them. So, but their flavor is really intense.
The deviled chicken that just by the tuna fish.
Yeah, the deviled tuna cans, that kind of thing.
That's
Years ago, there used to be chicken roll or chicken loaf, that kind of stuff.
How many eggs do they produce a day?
1 egg a day,
1 a day.
every 24 to 26 hours if she's happy and healthy.
Okay.
So we light our chickens all the time. So they have the normal day like we do. And that tells her, oh, it's time to lay. She will not lay in darkness because she doesn't know what predators are.
Around 16 hours.
So they need to have that light, and it has to be a color of red to stimulate the gland to produce eggs. So a lot of people who have backyard flocks don't know all these things, and so they're like, yep, you can't come to my house, I don't have any more eggs. Well, you don't have the basic husbandry of chickens. So that's chicken 101.
We put one building up and we had the wrong wavelength on it, and we ended up changing all the bulbs in there when we had some of our vet friends come in to help analyze why they weren't peaking like the other flock.
Yeah, so we partner with a lot of veterinarians, Cornell. Anytime we have any problems or questions, our machine companies have been really great. Like if we're having problems, or if the lights aren't the right size, or they might not flicker to us, but to her it's like flickering. It's like a staccato. We had a barn that was doing that, just one section, and we were having a lot of problems. So again, it's all science. It's all based on things. So we have all these special lights and special things. So that. Hold on one second.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Tonight, your H-2A visa program,
Yes.
which is a federal government, is there any time when you can't get people to collect?
So far, no.
Okay, that's good.
So far, we are able to get it. Actually, they just came out with a final rule 2 weeks ago, which is making the program even harder to use, which is going to be a detriment, because if we can't get them here, our food is not getting produced. So, so everybody needs to listen to that. If we do not get workers or people who want to work in agriculture, we will not have food for our own country. It is a huge problem. So yes, we have about 200 workers that come, about 150 workers this year that are coming in to help produce food for all of us. And it continues to get harder and harder. And let me tell you, I would rather hire local. It would be a lot cheaper.
Of course.
A lot cheaper. I have to house them. I have to get them transportation. I have to get them here and back. I have tons of regulations. I have to pay for all sorts of visas and filing reports, and then I have to have somebody who files all that, and I have to pay their services. It's very costly.
Is it a mandate?
You can either have illegal people working for you, or you can have legal people working for you.
And the immigration laws are broken.
Yeah.
You see this on the TV.
Yep.
They're here, but they can't work.
Yeah, no, I know.
They can't, scrub floors, or they can't, work on a farm.
Like
They can't
in
do.
Medina, they-
And then the illegals, you can't hire them because you get your ass in a bag if you do that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you gotta follow the
That's one way to
rules.
put it.
That's serious.
Like in Medina, they always had workers.
Yes.
In all the
Yeah, but a lot of the farms kinda,
Yeah.
skirt it
Yeah,
a little bit.
wow, that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. That's part of my whole job is I oversee 5 houses in 4 counties, and each county has different requirements, and they look at different things. And
Are they seasonal then?
yes, they can only work in the U.S. for up to 10 months, no longer, and it can't be families unless you have housing for families,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it can only be single sex in the house.
Wow.
And I'm regulated by Department of Health, Department of Labor, USCIS, and Homeland Security.
Good luck.
So we can all, when Jeanette works on getting them here, she has to specify what job they're gonna do,
How many hours?
how many hours, and all these small, minute detail.
Yeah,
We may
yeah.
wanna have a concrete sidewalk poured, and where these guys are coming in, they're carpenters, there's masons, there's stone workers, the electricians, they can't do anything but pack eggs or pick weeds and doing stuff. Because in their country, they're only getting $10 a day,
If they get a job.
if they get a job.
Oh, how
Here-
sad, huh?
And so they're happy to get these jobs,
Yeah.
and they would do anything for you,
Yeah.
but you can't, because you get somebody,
Someone will blow you in.
so here you got these people that are craftsmen
Yeah.
that can't do jobs that
What a shame.
Their own craft.
Because I need a plumber on our facilities all year round. I need an egg packer all year round because by USDA and FDA regulation, I have to pack eggs every day. They can't sit in the barn, they have to be processed, they have to be put into the refrigerator. So that is a year-round job that does not qualify for seasonality. I have delivery drivers. These guys are master drivers. I don't know if you've ever been to a foreign country. Some of those drivers are amazing. Can't have them drive because I have trucks on the road 7 days a week.
You got eggs.
So, it's just really crazy, the attention to detail, which just got harder. So if I don't put cauliflower on the list of things that they're picking or planting, and they are asked what vegetables they do, I could be fined.
Oh, wow.
And the fines are steep.
Oh,
So, yeah, so talk about trying to make it work for getting food to our own people,
yeah.
by our own people, it's making it harder.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Great job, Jeanette. Let's go back to that light frequency.
Yes.
Chickens have been laying eggs for millions of years before electricity.
Not efficiently.
Okay, so it was based on the sun
Yes.
rising and setting.
Yes.
they used to put eggs in warehouses in the fall, when the days start getting to a certain day.
Can everybody hear him?
Yeah.
When the day length starts getting to a certain day length, the chickens will stop laying, they'll go into a natural molt. That's why some people have their chickens, they say, well, I got my chickens 5 years. Well, they go into a molt all winter, because they're not being lighted 16 hours a day.
Yeah, right.
And so, and if, so then, in the, years gone by, I think most of us here are all too young for the, for the
Before
eggs being
electricity.
put into storage, up in Lockport and Medina and all these things, they got all these storage facilities. That's what they did, they put water, apples and all these different things in there. And one of them was, eggs were put into storage, and then they dole them out all winter long.
Yeah, right.
So what is a molt? Just so that we know what we're talking about. So a molt is when the chicken stops laying eggs and her body is telling her, I'm not supposed to be laying eggs, but and it's getting colder, so I have to conserve my energy. So her reproductive organs, which is how eggs are produced, kind of dries up and goes away.
They regress.
And then once the light starts coming, she goes into full production. So that happens normally when she's, several months old. So she will go from, she'll be a regular sized chicken, laying large, not laying any eggs, go right back into large.
So they go into a molt and then come back out?
They come right back up, yeah.
Yeah,
As soon as the
that's
light
great.
starts to trigger that gland, it'll
That's fascinating.
kick into,
So it's in their brain, it's a little gland that, I forget the name of it, but
Yeah.
it signals the development of the egg.
in a lake spread.
Overduct and all the, egg making facilities.
Fascinating.
Cool.
So it's called
It's
Eggs
science.
101. That's the videos that I was sharing. So there's a whole bunch of them on here. I got hit questions in the back.
Yeah, you talked about eggs or chickens, getting 100 in a box. Are you taking in chickens every day and shipping chickens out every day?
No, they all come in at one time. The whole barn comes in at one time, and they all go out at one time. So they're all sisters.
Weekly or monthly?
We plan 2 years ahead, so I know exactly how many chicks I will have in each barn for the next 2 years, because they have to plan for the industry. So there's about one chicken for every person in the United States. So we need to make sure we have eggs in rotation, because every 90 weeks, most of them are getting switched out.
Jeanette, what's the size compared to some other egg farms across the country?
That's a really good question. Thank you. I always forget to talk about that. So when I say that we have 2.5, well, in 2 weeks, we'll have 2.5 million chickens. Everybody's like, 2.5 million chickens? Like, oh my God. So on a list, what am I doing that? Sorry. On a list, we are exactly middle of the road. Exactly middle of the road. So the list, so when my dad was doing this, there was, 350 egg farms in the United States that produced eggs commercially for our people. Today there are 103.
Wow.
So in this generation of consolidation, we've lost a lot. Actually, I had a slide that I was going to share with you, how much farmland we've lost and how many farms. Let me see if I can find them while my dad talks.
Cal-Maine Foods, which is an egg producer, they have like 34 or 40 million chickens. I mean, they buy a farm with 3 or 5 million chickens. That's just into their, they don't know where they just put get the system up and running and the thing runs. So, Roseacre Farm that used to be here that used to sell eggs, the Williams Poultry over in the Cortview. They're probably around, somewhere around 22 million, give or take, what they're building or whatever. So, we're just a little,
Just drop in the bucket.
2.5 million
drop in the
chickens.
bucket compared to these guys, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade any of our farms for any of theirs.
No.
I'm telling you that right now.
That's why we buy your egg.
Amen.
So this, I meant to put this into the presentation because I found this fascinating. So every 5 years they do an USDA agricultural census for New York State. So it's 800 pages. If you need some reading or going to sleep, it can help. I pulled out some of the things that I found of interest just on the first couple pages of this. The 2022 Ag Census highlights for New York State, 98% of farms in New York are family owned. 98% are family owned. So some people drive by our farm and go, oh, there's a factory farm. Nope, we are a family farm and we will remain that way. And it's very important, just because you're big doesn't mean that you are not a family farm. We have a lot of farms that have a lot of cows and chickens and other livestock. You have to be big in order to compete. Wegmans and Tops are not going to buy from 30 different farms, because then they have to manage 30 different audits in addition to what we're doing, and they have to manage all of our paperwork to make sure that we're compliant with the federal and USDA and state governments. Overall farms declined 2,800 over the 5-year period, which is a 9% decrease since its 2017 ag survey. So when I talk about losing family farms and losing legacy farms, generational farms, we're losing them fast. It also is part of the problem is that most of the farmers are in their 70s and 80s. New York State lost 364,000 acres of farmland in the last 5 years. So, when you're thinking about moving out into the country and buying up that farmland for a house or for for other things, that's where your food is grown. Nationwide, I thought this was also interesting just to keep it in perspective. 141,733 lost farms in that 5-year period, and 20 million acres of farm loss acres lost in 5 years. So, this kind of puts it into perspective when you start looking at these numbers of where is my food going to come from if it's not produced in the United States. So make sure that when you're buying food, you're thinking of where it's coming from. And our food is still one of the cheapest foods in the world. We pay between 6 and 10% of our adjusted gross income on food. Most countries are a lot higher, and there's regulations on their food. So we have it pretty good. Okay, I'll continue to take questions.
Okay, I've got 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the easy. Are there any roosters on the farm at all?
No, because we don't want you to have a special surprise in your eggs. That wouldn't be fun.
Okay. Number 2, you said they had put eggs in cold storage. How long would an egg sit in your refrigerator and still be okay to eat?
Okay, so federal guidelines tell me that you're supposed to use the sell-by date or the best pack date and go by that. Eggs, as long as they're in the original carton, because it keeps the smells and odors from your fridge and it protects the egg. If you keep them in the original carton in the middle of your fridge where the door's not changing that temperature, you can keep them for a couple more weeks after the use by date. I'm not supposed to tell you that because the government will not like that. So this is our secret. Nobody gets it on tape,
When
right?
they were in cold storage,
Edit that out.
the chickens would stop laying eggs about the middle of October. End of October. Now then it would take a while to get down to 0. Okay? When do you think they're gonna start making eggs again? In May and June.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, really?
It's this big a space. Now, we're not supposed to say it, but if you're gonna have eggs for frying and you want your egg to stand up, nicer when you flip it over, or if it spreads out in the pan, it's all, like a big thing of water. The May and June eggs would be all watery. Still good. They got, China, they put them in the ground for a year and then they come out with, some kind of egg that probably grows 90% of us out. But they're still good.
Yeah, so what happens so eggs are porous. So as air goes into the egg, that thin membrane has an air pocket that gets in it, and then it starts to wilt the thick membrane of the white, which is the egg white, the albumin. And as it ages, it gets thinner and thinner. So if you want a high sunny side up yolk, you want really fresh eggs. If you're like, hey, I just need a fried egg. If you're making a meringue, you want fresh eggs. You want the freshest eggs you can find because you need that beat to make the volume. If you're making brownies and you got an old egg, perfect spot for it. Or cookies.
Okay, number 3, I want to thank you for those stone walls. They are fabulous. I absolutely love them. And then when people come and visit us from other areas, I send them to look at those.
That's the third generation. Because my cousins and we all grew up playing on those stone walls. I mean, literally
Plain.
along the ledge. There's places we climb over the ledge where the buildings are, not out by the road, back where the buildings are. And you could climb down 5-6 feet, and we'd be sitting on a ledge this wide, and we'd look down. I do it as an adult. I look down, it's 20 feet down, and we'd sit on the ledge with our feet hanging over the thing. Wouldn't even think anything of it.
And
We
we
were
all still
very
made it.
passionate about it. And if you drive down Davison Road or come up Davison Road, you'll see that the guy that built the walls has a dry creek bed going up there where he placed each and every stone on that pad. He didn't dump it in there with an excavator. Each and every stone was put in there by this guy. And he's got big stones scattered throughout. and it looks like a river.
I think those walls are just to everybody.
Check it out.
The other thing is, you know, historical, as you're driving past the pullet houses, they're on the south side of the bike path. You're driving past them, you look off to along the ledge there, that is a lime kiln that we have there. That was, and my cousin, you know, worked with the stone wall builder to get it all cleared up and to get it all cleaned out. It's amazing, the thing. It's just absolutely amazing. Well, when they were, you know, just like all the lime kilns that they had for making the cement works and all these different things. They take you know, they're clearing all this acreage for farming. You got all this wood, you mix the limestone at certain percentages, and I don't know what they are, but you know, you put all this stuff in this kiln, you get this big fire going, and whatever's left is the concrete.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Not the concrete, but the, you know, the
aggregate.
cement, the aggregate for the cement.
That's neat.
I thought I saw a question over here. Okay. Court.
Okay, me?
Mhm.
Okay, right here. Okay, I just have a question about, you said when you have the eggs laid, they have to get right in the refrigerator. Okay, now, my grandmother used to sell eggs when I was a little kid, that was a long time ago. And, she used to just have a big barrel of them, you know, a big basket of them that she would collect eggs and wherever on the back porch. And they would sit outside. All these people would drive out from the city to get these fresh farm country eggs, and they've been sitting outside for many weeks.
Well, that's another thing, but I'm not gonna talk about that yet.
That was the thing, and they said as long as you don't ever get them cold or wash them.
So it's washing. So eggs are porous. So when the egg is laid, so I told you that there's brown chickens that lay brown eggs and white chickens that lay white eggs. So what happens? The egg is coming out the vent. The last gland is the paint gland, and it paints a white film on the egg or a brown film on the egg. So if you take a fine grit sandpaper and buff the brown egg, it's a white egg. It just is the gland of pigment that comes out on the egg. So it is the final seal of the egg as it comes out the vent to try and close up the pores. And then as it comes out the vent and everything filters into the pores, so the dust and the feather and maybe some poop and you know all that stuff, that seals the egg completely once it's out of the body cavity. And as long as that is not washed, no air can come in and no bacteria can come in. So the government says that in the United States you have to wash eggs and you have to refrigerate them. I have traveled to 38 different countries. I've probably been to 3 that refrigerate eggs, that wash eggs. I was in college and I called my dad and I said, oh my God, I was in Australia, a Western country. Oh my God, there's eggs on the floor. They've been there all day. It's 4 o'clock and I'm just going there now and they are warm. Because of course it was summertime. And he goes, okay, so when you get them home, make sure you wash them and put them in your fridge and make sure you fully cook them. He said, they don't wash their eggs in other countries. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, but for every 24 hours that they are out at room temperature, they age a week. So what we used to do is send out a notification to the Akron Bugle. If you're going to hard cook your eggs for Easter, make sure you buy them 2 weeks in advance because our eggs go to market within 72 hours of being laid. Most of the time it's 42. Unless there's a real big shortage or a big sale or a big demand. We've had company, food service, take the temperature of our eggs and say, whoa, we can't accept these. The eggs are too warm. And we're like, but they were just laid. The truck, do you realize that the truck is 2 hours delayed because we were waiting to get the last of your eggs onto a truck? We are that close to the chicken. So again, everything is regulated. Everything is overseen by the government. We have to provide all these documents to verify all this stuff. So yes, in America you have to have your eggs cleaned and you have to have them refrigerated. Many people in many countries don't. And we can't sell them to anybody unless they are washed.
Okay, so just a regular person like my grandmother, okay, how long could they sit on the porch in a basket?
Until somebody bought it.
So somebody bought them, yes. But for every day, every 24-hour period that they are at room temperature, they age a week. So probably a week, and then you're starting to really lose that thickness of the albumin, the egg white, and then you'll just have they could crack, they won't rot. So Karen, our food safety, my cousin, she did a test. She took some eggs and put them, why in her attic, I don't know. She put dates on them and put them in her attic to see how long it would take for them to dry out, if they would smell, if they would rot, because our eggs go out so fast, we don't know. And it's a great science experiment with her young kids. And maybe that's why Nate's back in the business, I'm not sure. Actually, 2 of her kids are. So she put eggs up there, and then she came back and she's like, yep, the egg white completely dried out. And it was like a little puck inside. It was the egg yolk.
How long?
Months. Oh. Yeah, I think it was like 3 months or 4 months. Yeah.
And those were the ones that were washed?
Yeah, they were washed. Well, she of course did a science, so she did some washed, some not washed.
Yeah.
Huh.
Cool. I don't remember all the details, so you can ask her though.
When I was a kid, we used to go to Federal to buy eggs, and they were on the shelf. They were not refrigerated.
Yeah, most of the delis that we delivered when I was 16, 17,
Yeah.
Delivering the delis, they'd be having a, thing, like Park Edge Markets, they'd put 30 cases out in the middle of the aisle. Just on the pallet right out there, and people would just be, getting their eggs out of them.
Part of that came about from egg rules being made, because there are bad apples in every business, and there were adulteration of eggs by some farmers for bottom line profits. So they were selling eggs that had salmonella, and were getting people very sick, and
they knew it.
And they knew it. I think 9 people died at one of their outbreaks, and I think 15 died at another. So now there's a lot more regulations and rules about it.
At each of the farms, we have a person that goes around. Each farm has like 200 bait stations on it, and they record. They got a record to know how many mice and things that are in the buildings and where they are and all that kind of stuff. And I know when I was a kid, we used to have the manure in the buildings, not taken out daily, going through our composting facility. They could have many, many mice, and a lot of the farms that's still have these systems, we just couldn't tolerate. I mean, we had liquid manure. I don't know how many people know about the liquid manure that we used to spread around town and stuff. They used to smell pretty good.
Yeah.
And now we get some of the new people that smell our, past our white barn or, past the buildings. Oh my God, it smells. And it's like, well, you guys ask the old timers what it used to smell like.
Remember how many flies? Yes, we used to have 15 fly strips in my parents' house up on Route 5 because there were flies everywhere.
How much automation is in the process at your facility?
Great question. So, the question was how much automation? So most of our tractors have GPS and are kind of self-driving. We do have some things you got to regulate and stuff. Our packing plants are very automated. We have one robot, so we don't have tons of technology. We do have a lot of hand labor that pack our eggs.
But they don't touch them.
But they don't touch them. You're the first one that touches the eggs, except for maybe if there's one that's missing. If the eye counter misses an egg, there might be a touch, but most of the time you're the first person. So for the hen houses, the conventional ones, the ones that are in cages, are 100% automated with a couple people checking on the chickens and pulling mortality and checking the feed and water and all the systems. Our cage-free and organic is, I think we have 25 people who are getting on their hands and knees and gathering the eggs and putting the chickens to bed, and it's a lot more physical and a lot more hand labor, but that's what consumers want. Consumers are voting with their hearts and not with their brains. So a happy, healthy chicken is one that is in a small group, that she knows the pecking order. Cage-free and organic, there's more of them. So in a cage, there's, it depends on the size of the cage, there's between, 4 and 10 in them, depending on the size. And then in the cage-free, there's about 1,000. So they're always doing that, who's in charge and any notice of change. Like if I walk in the barn, they know, hey, somebody new is here. When my dad was working, he could walk in the barn all day long and they'd be like, oh, hey, Don's here today. So it's really interesting because there's so much more work and there's so much more dust and dander and ammonia that our team has to endure for producing cage-free and organic eggs. But that's what consumers want because they think that an uncaged animal is healthier. It is actually not. There's more mortality. And it's more of that pecking order not being established. So it's piling, which is suffocation. It's not great. But there's nothing we can really do.
We just live with it.
We live with it. But if you ask our teams, they would rather have the cage facilities. Because crawling on your hands and knees for the first 3 hours of your day to get all the eggs off the floor and then put them somewhere special because they can't be sold for human consumption. Those have to go into liquid egg product, dried eggs, frozen eggs. Okay, I know I'm only supposed to be here till 8, but I'll answer questions all night long. Gotcha.
I heard that you have to shave dolls' beaks. So
Yeah.
they kill each other?
Yes. So chickens in large groups, they have a spur at the end of their beak, and they have sharp toes, and the roosters have spurs on the back of their legs, cockfighting. So you cauterize the beak, so you burn it, you burn the end, it's like a nail. So like if you ever hit your nail and it turns black and you have to relieve the pressure, it's the same concept where they take a needle, release the pressure, and that cauterization is what keeps the beak from continuing to grow, and it kind of rounds it out so that it's not sharp.
So what do they do? Put them on a conveyor belt and just go by?
No, they're done with intense.
They're done with RF. No, it's a laser.
It's
system.
it's a laser system where if they old, they're put on a machine and they're actually getting this beak treatment and the first vaccination at day old.
So it's like a little carriage that they go on, and then it just whoop, and then it goes on to so it goes
How's it
whoop, 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 and then they get the vaccine too. Yeah. It's really quick, painless. Go ahead, Laura.
I have a question, probably I'm not fair to ask you, you said there's 4 generations, so when you started, about how many Kreher people were there? The second generation, about how many Kreher, the third generation, about how many Kreher, and now you know how many.
So it was my great grandparents. So I count the wives because I know how much work goes into it. So I can be, yes, we'll just go like that. So first generation was my great grandfather, his vision. The next generation was his 2 sons out of 13 in the family, 8 in the family, and then and their wives. And then the third generation, there were 7. So Henry's 5 boys, my dad, from my grandpa, and a cousin of ours.
His mother was a Kreher.
his mother was a Kreher. And then my generation, it can only be direct from the third. So my dad, I'm his offspring. So me, Scott's daughter Natalie, Kurt's sons Mike and Brian, and then Karen and Hal's son Nate. So there's 5 of us.
That's cool.
Good, thank you. See, I thought that'd be a real hard question when you're so smart.
A lot of practice. I remember I'm the people side, I'm the presentation side, so I gotta have all this stuff in the top of my head.
What's the furthest point that your eggs go in this country, distribution wise?
Where's?
Okay, so where is the furthest Wegmans store? So they're heading into Florida, so Florida. Where's the furthest Tops? So they have a couple stores in Pennsylvania. I think they got one in Ohio still. So basically this area. Most of our other stores are just in New York State. We go as far as Syracuse, except for a couple others that we might have further on. So there's us at this part of the state, and then there's a family farm that we have a really good relationship with, Giroux's. They are a little bit smaller than we are, and they're over in Plattsburgh, Chazy area, right on the St. Lawrence. They have that kind of market and the Northeast, so they do Vermont and Maine. There is a very large egg farm up in Connecticut that handles that Northeast territory as well. We had our first shipment ever, or first shipment in a long time, that went to Canada. So now we're sending eggs into Canada. Now, for those who don't know, all of the products in Canada, all the food products in Canada are regulated by quota. So now they have to get so much percentage outside of their country, and they choose to go with us because of our regulations in the United States. So it's really important to make sure that they have a continued food supply sources, which I think is brilliant. So Canada as well.
I picked up the 10 million eggs, but I forgot already, that's 10 million per.
A week.
A week.
Why you came a long way.
Go ahead, Jen.
Who counts them all?
A machine. That machine that I was telling you about, a machine does it. Jen, go ahead.
As a ex-employee.
Long-time employee.
When they were talking about taking the chicks and you gotta figure there's 30,000 chicks, you gotta do that.
Oh, wow. Yes, in the cage-free facility, there's 37,000. Yes, in the laying houses, we have our smallest laying house is 59,000, 60,000. Our largest egg houses, my dad and I are going to go see tomorrow, and they're 200,000.
Wow.
We're going to Wayne County tomorrow. It's a daddy-daughter date day for Father's Day, and I'm so romantic. I take him up to our farm, and he's going to help lift some stuff, and we're going to deliver donuts to our team.
Brand new building.
Brand new building.
Brand new pullet house with its first batch of pullets coming through. We're going to be going into the layer house.
And it's a huge lift to go from caged facilities to a cage-free facility, because there's so much learning. The systems are different, the chickens are different, it's a different breed, they act different. These systems they have never seen before. They are climbing systems, so the chickens can be on the floor or they can be right at the ceiling. 10 and a half feet in the air. They climb on it's like a gymnasium all day long. So it's totally different for our team, so it's really interesting to see all this change.
Different. Do the bars have to be cleaned between?
So, yes, another regulation. No, they don't have to be clean, but we choose to clean because we want the highest quality eggs. So, yes, you might pay a little bit more for our eggs than Aldi's eggs. However, we know that our eggs the barns have been cleaned between each group, so that any bacteria or viral load that they may have gets lowered because the barn is clean. So once the chickens leave, the guys blow it down because it's dusty. They blow it down, they get it semi-clean, and then they send the maintenance team in to do any repairs. Then they power wash it with heat, and then they sanitize it, rinse it and sanitize it, and then it's good to go. And then it becomes so in the process, it is a non-zone 3 biosecure barn during that cleaning time. And then as soon as that disinfectant goes on, then it's a biosecure zone, so you have to shower in to go into the building. So my dad and I are gonna take 2 or 3 showers tomorrow. Well, 3 or 4 showers tomorrow. We're gonna be very clean, squeaky clean. Clark?
I just wanted, how many prior or current employees are here today?
That one you're putting me on the spot. That's a good question. How many how many people have worked for us at one point in their life? Okay.
I know the one back
A
there.
handful. Okay, a few. That is a good question.
How about family members?
Or family members, yes. Yeah.
Two brothers work there
Mhm.
on Main Street.
Yeah. So we have hired a lot of people. For a lot of people, this was their first job. For a lot of people, they're finding that they can have a career here because it's not just packing eggs. Although, you know what? Sometimes people just need to pack eggs. That's all they can do. That's all they want to do. They want to come in, do their job, go home. They got kids. We can work around some of their shifts with school and stuff. And then other people are like, no, you know what? I'm a mechanic. I wanna do that. And we have all sorts of jobs. We have 400 jobs, so you can make it a career.
I just wanna say, every Saturday at Clarence Hall Farmers Market, we sell Kreher's eggs that are delivered the night before.
And they're probably produced within the last 72 hours.
We say that all.
You gotta give John that $20 you owe him.
Yeah, I'll pay you later. I don't want to hold anybody up, but as you can see, I'm passionate about this. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I could talk all night. So if you need to leave, feel free to. I don't know if Pat's going to give me the final question.
They can stay as long as they want, but I think we should give them a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
This family farm in our midst. Very good.
Amen.
So there's a couple of you that did not get my little piece of paper with the QR code. If you want to come up here and grab a card, I will send it to you. It will not be until next week because tomorrow I'm going up to Wayne County. It is a 2.5-hour drive. I have to stop and pick up Paula's Donuts because I'm treating my team. I'm also part of the wellness team, so I try not to buy them donuts too often, but they have been busting it to try and get this barn ready. So I want to shower them with Paula's Donuts because they've never had Paula's Donuts. And they're my favorite. So.